Oqadaich, McIntyre, Oqadaich, Mountie, Mutamagis Visqua, McIntyre, Kiji, Aichka, County. Is coming out, JD glass, was little. Now, big sinking. I'm gift asking, they're gift died, and a week of a junior when we scored a grocery. But there's a midway in the go. As you got to tell way neck. Now, in all of the hours, they don't know when she won't. Then a big squad, and mal. Junior, I'll get the real tall, the mal. You got to change your tone, Baraki. Now, tell me them. You mal done a lamb, you have a question, what my jarson. You got to tell my genome chija neighbor. Of course, one will do a quiz. Morning, the yawning. And did you come? You bowed a character. I've not done a garment. Now, the bad character, Pantado Dwobody. They were, Mom, they were, kill the man a close one, I don't tell me don't quiz. I'll catch it up. They were, when you do it, Mom, they were never watching him chija. He stepped it for his character, his galabist. And one out. Hey, squad. Midway, Mukildas with Midway.
Donald Marshall Jr.'s wrongful conviction changed the criminal justice system for Aboriginal people across Canada. With these changes to the Criminal Code of Canada, our Aboriginal distinctness must be observed when standing before the courts. The Mi'kmaq Legal Support Network serves 1,500 people annually in Nova Scotia.
Mi'kmaq Legal Support Network is basically a derivative of the Marshall Inquiry. There's been a lot of different recommendations under the Marshall Inquiry, how to look after youth that are in trouble, as they're going through the court systems, different people within the Mi'kmaq societies that are involved in the court structures. Also, people that have been released from federal penitentiaries, people that were in trouble in going to court systems. They didn't understand the English language that well, and they would automatically say that they were guilty just to get over the system in place, and they would serve time, even though they may not have been guilty because of misunderstandings. The other things that were going on is that there weren't enough people within the court system to assist anyone that could understand that. So in the 70s and 80s, they began looking at helping people within the court structures, understanding the English language and the sentences and the laws that are applying to their imprisonment or jail time, whatever you want to call it. But I remember in the 70s that there were people that were assisting, and they were what they called court workers at the time. And they were interpreting a lot of the English language to Mi'kmaq language for a better understanding. And things had began to change because then people understood that maybe they weren't guilty. And they didn't have to plead that they were guilty just to get over this, just to get over the court system or the court structure. So, you know, Mi'kmaq Legal Support Network has lent a big hand with respect to that. In the last 20 or so years, people are understanding more of their rights in the Mi'kmaq language and being able to say that they're guilty or not guilty. The unfortunate part with respect to Mi'kmaq Legal Support Network is that they don't have enough staff to cover all areas and all regions and all court systems. But I think myself as a board of director, I'm very proud of the fact that they are doing their best and they have made inroads into the court systems, court structures, and understanding of what people should understand as they're going through this system.
And we recognize that we would get referrals of young boys and girls in conflict with the law. And we recognize that when we got referrals of boys and girls from the Mi'kmaq communities on Cape Breton Island, that we really weren't having much success in assisting them. And we didn't understand their communities, and they didn't feel comfortable with us. So we reached out to the Union of Nova Scotia Indians, which is, you know, in Cape Breton, to say what what could we do about this problem we're identifying, that we're not doing a great job helping these boys and girls? And so that led us to an opportunity for me and my board of directors to work with Dan Christmas in particular, who was with the union at that time, to make a presentation to the tripartite forum to look for support to try a pilot project that was called the Mi'kmaq Young Offender Project. How could we establish a more effective program, particularly geared to youth 12 to 17? And our board of directors worked closely with Paula and leaders from Member 2 and Eskasoni and Chapel Island and Wagmacook and Wagoba to develop the Mi'kmaq Young Offender Program, and we were able to get it established as an ongoing pilot project. Then the Tripartite Forum was working to look at how to establish better services for Aboriginal persons facing conflict with the law, and they came up with the MLSN framework, that rather than just having programs that are delivered specifically to offenders, you need a sponsoring organization that has a responsibility to build legal services, and then all the programs could be under that sponsoring organization. And that was sort of the MLSN vision, and that was endorsed and supported by provincial and federal governments. And the decision was made that one of the first programs that MLSN could become a sponsor of would be the Mi'kmaq Young Offender Program. And so it became the first program of MLSN, and things just grew from there.
The Mi'kmaq Legal Support Network provides a vital service to Mi'kmaq people across the province and to all Aboriginal people across the province. Over the years, it's evolved into a cutting-edge justice service that otherwise, had it not existed, I don't think that many Aboriginal peoples encountering the Canadian justice system would have fared as well. So it provides a vital legal support, and it also bridges the divide. But it also, I think, one of the key contributions of it is that it contributes to cultural sustainability for Mi'kmaq Nation. And as it moves into a standalone organization, an independent organization, I think it's going to be the foundation for probably a good governance as Mi'kma'ki and the Mi'kmaq Nation solidifies itself. They're going to need a justice system, a Mi'kmaq justice system, and one that has culturally appropriate mechanisms for dispute management, for accountability, and for good governance. So I think it's a really exciting time for MLSN. It moves beyond just being a criminal justice program, a court worker program, and it moves into really, it carries forward Mi'kmaq culture because it is a reconciliatory justice system. It's not an adversarial justice system, so it's very different. So it's taking the foundations of Mi'kmaq culture, of Iksiktawahin, right relations, talking it out, all of those strategies of dispute management, and creating a mechanism that's gaining more and more legitimacy as people in the community seek out its services. And so I can see that this will move on, expand from areas of criminal law into family law, into civil law, and into governance. So it'll, I think, provide a great venue for human rights issues, for resource regulation and resource management, all of the things that are going to be integral to the Mi'kmaq Nation becoming a self-governing and independent nation for this province.
Well, I grew up in Boston, and my family moved up here to Nova Scotia in the 70s and lived in Halifax, the Halifax area for a long time, and got into trouble with the law, and I ended up in the boys' school in Shelburne. I went from Shelburne to correctional center in the county jail, and then I eventually went up to the federal system. I started off with 2 years, and then my 2 years turned to a life sentence. In 1987, I started doing a life sentence. I met Junior in Spryfield. He was visiting my neighbor, and just talked to him briefly. Our cases were compared in the media, and I told them that I didn't agree with it. I had nothing to do with it. The media was saying that my case was similar to his, but I told him that it wasn't. That was the media that was doing that. That's the only kind of conversation we had. Yeah, I meet a lot of people who are in trouble with the law, especially youth, and I sat in on a couple of circles with the Restorative Justice Program, and I think that's a good program for the youth. It keeps them away from the courts, keeps them in the circle, and gets the community involved with sentencing, and I think it's really good. Well, one of the things I like are these support circles that we have, these meetings. We get together once a month and just touch base, see where I'm at, and I think it's good. Haven't had that before. It's a lot different than any other system, I guess, because we usually start off with a smudge, a prayer. We have an elder involved in our meetings, and it's totally different atmosphere, I guess.
I think that the Mi'kmaq Legal Support Network is integral to Mi'kmaq culture. I think it's integral to the nation, and I think that it is a justice process, a justice network that really challenges all of the weaknesses and faults of the Canadian justice system and offers a much brighter hope and future for reconciliation within Mi'kmaq communities and between Mi'kmaq Nation and the state. So I think it's paramount that the state support Mi'kmaq Legal Support Network and move forward, really honor the recommendations of the Marshall Inquiry and see them to their fullest, because I think these are the steps, these are the frameworks that are really going to lead to an independent, self-governing Mi'kmaq Nation that is treated as equals before the law and with the law.
If you have any contact with the law or the courts, I guess it's good to have someone on your side who can explain the law to you and the procedures, and it's good to know your rights. I think that's important if you go into court. A lot of our people have pled guilty to charges in the past where they weren't guilty and they didn't understand their rights.
Well, I'm very proud to know that Nova Scotia has MLSN. It's very unique. It's a province-wide program. It's built on really strong values, and it's built on a really strong analysis of Mi'kmaq customary approaches, and yet it works very effectively with the formal criminal justice system and has strong partnership with courts and corrections. So it bridges both worlds very effectively on behalf of Mi'kmaq persons who are in conflict with the law. And I think it's a very, very important part of our criminal justice support network, and plays a very important role in making our communities safer by assisting offenders and victims and making sure that everyone understands the Mi'kmaq approach and the value that brings to reducing incidents of victimization. So I'm very proud that we have MLSN in Nova Scotia.
I think what's required with respect to the court systems and so on is that we see an example in Eskasoni where they have a court system that comes to the reserve, but there isn't enough of those in the other communities. There are a few other larger communities that could probably benefit on that.